Greetings, class. In this installment, we're going to answer the question, what is positive peace? And I'll just give you the kind of textbook definition. Positive peace is the presence of social conditions which prevent violence. The social conditions which prevent violence. So positive peace means that we have equality. Positive peace means that we have justice. Positive peace means that we have truth. Positive peace means we have transparency. There are a number of features that we can think of as building up to the conditions that prevent violence. Positive peace means that we have equitable distribution of resources such that basic human needs can be met, right? The idea, the anticipation in this definition of peace is that there are things, very predictable things, that cause people to argue, to have disputes, and that those disputes would then escalate to violence. And that the more we act in capacities to prevent those situations from occurring, the more we act to intervene into those situations when they are occurring to prevent or limit the escalation, the more those things are embraced and engaged by the society and the systems and institutions that make up that civilization, the more we can say we have positive peace, right? Positive peace is justice, right? If bad things happen, if people break laws, if this takes place, justice means that there is a system in place for responding to those events and accommodating for the damages. Truth, right? We talk about this a lot in our thinking about disputes. Truth is fundamental, and truth is also not guaranteed. It's really, really difficult for people to work together if they don't trust each other. It's really difficult for people to make agreements with one another when they don't trust each other, right? It's fundamental. Equality, right? When we have discriminatory, segregative, pejorative elements in our societies, that ends up taking very, very predictable pathways, like the pathway to scapegoating, where we blame people for problems, even though it's not their fault. And as we start blaming people, first we realize that's dishonest. But second, we start creating the conditions for disrupted interpersonal relations. When we disrupt our relationships, right, then it grows, right? The wrong gets magnified and becomes the source of increased conflict. As conflict increases, as conflicts escalate, right, our tendency to go from disagreement to shouting match, to shoving match, to physical force, right? That's the tendency there. I'm not saying that violence is inevitable. And of course, I actually believe we can avoid violent conflict. And I don't think that every time people shout at each other that it turns into them pushing each other. What I mean is that the cycles do have predictable capacities. If people are shouting at each other over their basic human needs, right? If you're in a dispute over your access to clean water and somebody else is saying, we're not letting you have any more of this water, we're keeping it all to ourselves. If you need that water for your survival, your behaviors in order to survive will directly impact decisions likely about how you are going to access that water, right? A dispute over access to resources turns into physical violence in very predictable ways, right? People do what it takes to survive. So if we have equity and we have equality, and we have truth, and we have justice, then people can take comfort in knowing that they will be taken care of, and that when there are challenges to the distribution of resources, such that people feel like that they have, right, they're conflicted, they feel the presence of a threat to their interest or need. Positive peace means that you have mechanisms in place so that you can respond to the threats to your interests and needs. You can deal with things at a very positional level such that you're taken care of. Societies that are designed to make sure that their citizens are taken care of have increasingly less violence than societies where people see and experience challenges to their survival, right? Survival needs are fundamental. Respect, right? That's a more elevated interest. But when people experience threats to their person, their personhood, their dignity, their respect, again, it's the type of thing where institutions and systems that are designed to make sure that when people are disrespected, that they're accommodated for those slights, will have more peaceful operation than the systems where there's not a mechanism in place for guaranteeing the dignity and worth of all humans. So again, when we have systems in place so that we can showcase the presence of social conditions which prevent violence, people are going to fight, but you have, not police officers that show up with their pistols, but if you have people who deploy to say, all right, we're going to talk this through. Parties are able to engage in their disputes, and usually with the help of a third party, that they'll be able to achieve some sort of outcome, right? Some sort of resolution that can manage the conflict. And societies that prioritize this will allocate resources for making sure that dispute resolution takes place. Conversely, when we see systems of zero-sum thinking, zero sum, the more I win, the more you lose, the more you win, the more I lose, we become increasingly adversarial, right? Instead of being focused on winning, if we focus on meeting everyone's needs, then we create the conditions where we're able to best avoid violence. That might sound like it's too perfect world. I'll take that. We don't have an infinite amount of resources, right? We have limited resources. So the idea isn't that everybody gets everything that they want, but at least if we have the conditions in place, if we have social conditions that guarantee people's basic human needs are met, right? Everybody has a right to survival. If we meet these fundamental needs, then we help to avoid violence. When we have those conditions in place, we can refer to that as positive peace. See you in the next one.